The Trump administration is proposing that all federal workers should sign NDAs. And this is the first step in a long process towards obscurity, especially within the Pentagon complex. And this is what I was referring to when I touched on the concept of illegal orders, because we're approaching a time in which soldiers will be forced to sign NDAs in which they won't even be able to describe to each other or themselves or in front of Congress what sort of missions they were asked to complete without government retaliation because of the NDAs. If government workers are asked to sign NDAs, this will be the start of a very dangerous and obscure time in international conflict. I truly do believe that we are preparing for a war. I will continue to speak of the America's War, where the United States government will invade, the countries of Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Peru, Chile, for dominion of the, America sphere, of, our hemisphere. And I truly believe this more and more with news reports that come out. The Department of Energy is allowing private companies to purchase its old stocks of plutonium. And I believe the Department of Energy is trying to create a new nuclear device. That is the reason they're trying to offload all of this old fissionable material, because it simply is not powerful enough anymore. It's been sitting around since the Cold War. It's 80 years old. It doesn't have the destructive capacity that they're wanting. And so they're selling it to private corporations to make room to import new plutonium, and they're going to make a bomb. My running hypothesis is that they will drop this, new device, this new bomb on the country of Colombia, or let's say Colombia, once the America's War kicks off. We will be at a complete disadvantage in an upcoming modern conflict. I, on occasion, like to review those old war videos from the Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria invasions. And what always gets me is how soldiers have Xboxes, how soldiers have iPhones, how soldiers have access to the internet, to GPS, hackable technologies. In the time of the 90s to 2010s, the countries of, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Afghanistan did not have as wide access to, cell phone and internet technology as they do in modern times. And so when, Private Collins boots up his Xbox at base camp, signs into his Xbox Live profile, nothing happened because, enemy forces, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Mujahideen, Saddam Hussein, the government of Iran, they were unaware that soldiers had these things. They were unaware that you can actually track IP addresses and GPS data based off where someone logs into with their Microsoft profile. But the countries in South America of Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil are not disconnected from modern technology. They are not third world countries. They are countries who are suffering impoverished economic conditions with first world standards. They have cars, they have electricity, they have iPhones. They're poor is the problem. And so when the Americas War kicks off, and we send Private Walsh down to South America, and he decides to sneak his iPhone through, security and protocol clearance, and he decides to just take a picture over the bow of his boat. Your phone captures GPS data about when, where, and coordinates of how this photo was produced. And the governments of Venezuela will be aware of this. And so they will be actively searching for GPS and satellite pings of signing into Microsoft accounts, of using Xbox accounts, of phones being snuck through. And so we will have generals in the future completely baffled at how, friendly squadrons are being compromised. And it is because Private Johnson snuck an iPhone through, decided to take a picture of the sun coming up over base camp, and compromised the entire platoon's position. And in 30 minutes, a Venezuelan missile will make that camp disappear. As strange as it is to talk about, sometimes losing a war is actually politically advantageous. Excuse me. President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, is always in the news about how, there's economic catastrophe in Russia, about how, at some point, one of the dominoes of the Russian economy is supposed to fall, and this will collapse the Russian war effort. And this is a complete misunderstanding of how the Russian economy actually functions. Everyone always ignores the fact that Russian oil and natural gas companies are 50% state-owned by the Russian Federation, by the country of Russia. And it actually became a good idea to allow these companies to flounder. It was actually for President Putin's benefit that Western countries, such as the European Union, the United States, and Canada, actually canceled our investment in these foreign Russian oil and gas companies. Ultimately, when these companies start to experience true economic hardship, you'll hear about mass layoffs in the news. And to the casual person, it's awful to be laid off from your job. And so the people will clamor for the president to step in and do something. And this is what I mean when I say sometimes losing is politically advantageous. President Putin will step in and seize these Russian oil and gas companies. He will funnel state money into them, keeping people's jobs, thereby making him a hero in the public consciousness, because the president has saved the company. He saved your job. He is now the reason your family is continued to be fed. And the best part is, he doesn't even have to repay any foreign investment. When the European Union canceled all of that $50 billion of investment in Russian oil and gas, that meant that President Putin rather, didn't have to pay anyone back for the property he's about to seize. I truly do believe that, the capitulation of the Ukrainian government is near, and the capstone of President Vladimir Putin's victory will actually be providing the Russian citizens jobs in this new 100% state-owned Russian gas and oil company.